Welcome, this is Jim, host of the Faith Influencer podcast, where we're going to dive into discussions on faith's role in everyday life, from navigating blended families to overcoming challenges. I'm a husband, a father, a Bible teacher, an advocate for applying faith to everyday life. So tune in as I share personal stories, valuable insights, and practical wisdom. Welcome back to Faith Influencer. This is Jim Cunningham, and I got a question for you. How far can you go with your ex? Yes, that's the question. How far can you go with your ex? Or how far can you continue to go with your ex? Or at what point should you cut it off with the ex? And not, that's what I'm talking about. That's a big question and quite a bit of turmoil. And some of you who just heard what I'm talking about are tuning in because that's going on in your household. So we're going to talk about that. How far can you go with your ex? Let me say it differently. What role can your ex play, not in your children's life that you share together, but in your life? What role can they play? When is it crossing the boundary? Let's talk about this because there's a lot involved, and I've been there, so I know what I'm talking about here. Let's dive in. So when it comes up with the idea of the ex and the role of the ex and the position of the ex in your life and how much should they still be in your life, there are a lot of things involved, and I want to start with this one. This is why this subject is so hard, by the way. Let me throw this out there first. This is why this subject is so difficult to really grasp or get a hold of, is because people won't be honest. This is that one area where people will not be honest. Not necessarily dishonest with other people, but dishonest with yourself. This is the area where you are not willing to admit how you still may feel. So, the first thing I want to talk about is define your intentions. But the only way you're going to define your intentions with your ex is to be honest with yourself. And when I say be honest with yourself, I'm saying, is there something still there for your ex? Now, remember, this is a blended family podcast. And I want to reverse this just a little bit. How many of you are married to someone and you feel like that your spouse still has something for their ex? Now, I'm not trying to stir up issues or problems here or create a fight in your household, because boy, will this do it. But how many of you feel that way? How many of you feel like there are some things that don't feel right to you that your spouse still does with their ex, or conversations with their ex? We'll keep talking about it, but define your intentions. And so here's what I mean. When you talk with your ex, are you after reconciliation? Are you trying to have a better relationship? Are you after friendship? Some of you aren't willing to turn loose of your friendship with your ex. That's a real thing. I want to be friends with them. I'll tell you this. I'm not good with that at all. Co-parenting together, fine. Being civil, doing that, necessary. But being buddies or friends, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Literally, I've got some people who told me, you know what? We will go out for coffee. I'll tell you what I think about that in a minute. So co-parenting cooperation is not what I'm talking about here. So if you respond in the comments, well, we have a child together, and that's not what I'm talking about. So don't even comment on that. Okay? We've taken care of that. You have to cooperate together to co-parent. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about outside the children. What's your level of friendship? And be honest with yourself. Are you trying to hang on to that friendship? Sometimes this is really hard to admit. And if you want to just feel good and put in the comments, this is true of you, to be honest, then go ahead and do it. But sometimes you may be divorced from your spouse and you still love them. Now, I know there's a love there in the sense that you share children together. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about on a personal level. Maybe you were together for a long time and you still feel that emotional connection or love with that spouse. It's hard to be honest about that, but do you still have something for your ex? Or do you feel like that your new spouse has something for their ex? How do you deal with that? What are you doing about that? Are you having conversations about that? Are you keeping that to yourself and it's just starting to build up into bitterness? So define your intentions, understand your intentions, understand, are you reaching out to your spouse to talk about the children when in fact you're just trying to talk to them? Is is that it? So define your intentions. Be honest. What's the real reason you're doing that? So, I mean, it's kind of hard to reflect on our emotions at times, but it's necessary. Are you still emotionally attached to them? Have you moved on? Are you able to move on? Do you have enough self awareness that you really know what's going on there? That's the first thing. Here's the second thing. How far can you go with your ex? Let's look at your current relationships besides your ex and put all of this together. So let's look at the current dynamics. If you are a blended family and you've remarried with the exes that are involved, um, are you in a good relationship with them or is there unresolved tension with them? Because when I talk about having a relationship with them, it may be an emotional relationship or it may be a relationship that's absolutely filled with bitterness, vile, and anger. It could go either way. So what's that relationship like? Let's look at that. Now, here's what I've discovered. I've discovered that sometimes you were married to someone who knows how to pull your strings. They know exactly what to say to get you going, and it always gets you going. And I will tell you that just because you're divorced doesn't mean that they're not going to try to pull your strings. So sometimes there are triggers, and a trigger is something that your ex knows that if they pull this trigger, you're going to react in such a way. And being the childish person that your ex is, not you, right? But your ex, being the childish person that your ex is, like a kid, they want to push your buttons. They want to pull that trigger. They want to get a reaction out of you. Now, let me tell you where this comes from because I know this personally. It's all about control. That's what they're after. Even though you're not married, they still want to control you. Do you want to be controlled by them? Absolutely not. But sometimes you're so dumb, I say that kindly, that you don't realize that's what they're doing. They're pulling these strings, they're pulling these triggers to get a reaction from you because that's control. They're still controlling you. They may call you up and they may say something about something they don't want you to do with the children. I don't want you to take that. They're trying to control you. This whole thing about this emotional control is so real. How many of you are experiencing that? Well, why do you let them, after your divorce, continue to control you like that? Now that's on the side where they know how to get you to react out of anger or make you mad. And when you do that, they find such satisfaction in that. They don't, you know why? Because they're controlling. Some of you right now wish that you could just raise your hand and say, let me talk about this because this is my life. I know it is. I've talked to many of you. Just put it in the comments. So there's that controlling factor. But there are some of you out there that it's the other side of this equation. Your ex knows how to pull a trigger that melts your heart. You still have that attraction. You still have that emotional connection to your ex, that still melts your heart, that you still feel something when they do that. And you justify it. You say, again, well, we have kids together. Or you say, well, we were together for a long time. Well, listen, if you have all of those feelings, why did you get a divorce? Why didn't you just stay together? You say, well, what are you talking about? I'm talking about this. You can't continue down that path. You can't have that in a new relationship. What's it going to be like for you to remarry, or if you have remarried and your spouse has this intuition that you still have this emotional thing for your ex? What's that like for your new spouse? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You're going to find yourself going through the divorce court again, because who wants to live with that? I don't know any spouse that gets married to you and still wants to have your ex as a part of the whole equation. No one wants that. So so be honest about that. Does your ex still have that ability to control you, either out of anger or make you respond like, or melt your heart? Can they still do that to you? You say, okay, to be honest, they can. Let's talk about melt your heart. They still make you feel something for them. They have that ability to do that. You say, what do I do about it? Because it's true, and I don't want to lose my current relationship. What do I do about that? You understand it for what it is. Okay, take the blinders off. You understand it for what it is. What is it? This is what it is: manipulation. It's manipulation. Do you know how much satisfaction? If they can make you angry, they find satisfaction. If they can melt your heart, they find satisfaction. If they can talk to you and say something because they know the triggers, and you respond with this sweet voice, this sweetness to them, this that's how you respond. That is manipulation. They hang up and they find such satisfaction. See it for what it is. That's exactly what it is. What do? Quit having the conversations. Quit answering the phone. You see them ring, do you always answer? Or if your current spouse is around, do you text because your current spouse doesn't see you do it and say, I'll call you back later? Have you done that? Do you do that? You know what you're creating? You're creating this drama that's going to happen in your life, and it's going to continue. And your ex is just getting satisfaction from it. So realize what it is. Cut the ties. You have to cut the ties. If you've not remarried, listen, and you still feel some of this, do not get remarried. Do not get remarried. You better cut the ties, walk away from that. You've spent time away from that. You're not going back. You're not allowing them to manipulate you by pulling those triggers anymore. Only after you're beyond all of that should you even consider a serious relationship. So be honest with your relationships, with your ex. Be honest with how you feel about it, and take off the blinders and realize that they're only manipulating you and controlling you. Now, here's what you have to do next. You have to set boundaries. Now, here's what the ex is going to do. This manipulating ex, controlling ex, here's what they're going to do. They're going to create scenarios to get together around the children. That's not the real motive. That's just the excuse. They're going to say, we need to sit down and talk about the kids. We need to, let's go meet for coffee, and we need to talk about our daughter because she's struggling. Or we need to talk about, I need to tell you something that he's gone through. Our son's gone through. He's gotten in trouble at school. We need to talk about it. I'll meet you at Starbucks at 3:00. Control, control, control. Stop doing that. Stop allowing them to do that. So what do? You set boundaries. And what are the boundaries? The boundaries are, if there really is something you need to talk about, you don't have to talk about it in person. You don't. You have to be considerate of other people in your life. Don't meet them in person. Now, some of you are going to respond because I've already heard these responses. Some of you right now are going to say, no, we're able to have a healthy relationship and we can meet and it's okay. And I don't feel anything for them. It's not all about you. It's not all about you. What about the other people in your life? What about the other person maybe the person that you're married to? How do they feel? Maybe they don't say anything, but they think it. They don't like it. They don't like it that you go off and spend time alone with your spouse under the guise of talking about children. Maybe you really are talking about children, but it's not necessary for you two to be alone at some coffee shop to do this. You're just creating all of these issues that are going to come up. The bitterness builds. Bitterness takes a long time sometimes to spew out, but when you take a bottle and you shake it, whatever is on the inside is going to come out. That's just how it works. And that's what's going to happen to your spouse sometime, your current spouse. You keep shaking this bottle because your spouse is manipulating you, then what's on the inside and built up with your spouse is going to come out. So consider the impact on others. What's best for your current relationship? You're no longer, let me say it bluntly, you're no longer in a position to have to consider the feelings of your ex-spouse. I'm not talking about the children. Remember, we already dealt with that. I'm not talking about the children. I'm talking about you one-on-one, personally with your ex-spouse. That's not your position anymore. You're not worried any longer about their feelings. It's not your responsibility. It's not on your agenda. It's not on your plate. It's not even something you should think about. Oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Oh, I want to make them feel better about something. Or no, why are you, you're not with them any longer. You've cut that tie. You have to quit going there for the health of you, your current relationship, and so that they'll quit manipulating you and move on. You have to cut that tie. When you cut a tie, you can't, you have to just get the scissors and cut it. You have to be done with it. Now, if you need to text them, don't call them because they're going to manipulate you over the phone with their sweet voice or their sad puppy dog voice telling you, no, you can't do that. We're friends. For the children. No, you cut the tie and they say, call me. You say, you text them, because this is what I'm advising you to do. You text them, say, hey, you know, those relationships, those talks that we have, I'm feeling like that's inappropriate. We can't do that anymore. And they're going to respond. This is what they'll do. They'll text you right back and say, call me. I promise you that's what they're going to do, right? You know that. They're going to say, call me. And if you call them, you're doing the same thing again. What do? You text them back and say, no, not appropriate any longer. I can't do that anymore. Cut the tie. Cut the tie. So you have to do what's best for your current relationship. You have to be open and honest, and you have to cut the tie. And then they're going to get angry, and then they're going to start manipulating you around the kids. And they're going to say stuff, well, the kids said that your new husband said this or did this. Do you see that for what it is? Maybe there's some legitimate reasons that comes up. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that manipulation. And you just tell them, that's not happening. I have this house under control. None of your business. Move on. Cut the tie. Now, all right, I saved this for last. Sometimes it's not a bad thing. We need a support team. We need people on our side. We need people to bounce things off of. Sometimes you don't see the manipulation. You're listening to this podcast and you need to go to someone and say, I was listening to this guy the other day and he said I need to cut the tie because our relationship is still too emotional and they can pull all my triggers and I still feel sorry for them. That's some of you, right? I still feel sorry for them. And you go to your support team and your support team, I need to talk to you about something. What do you think? Is this happening? And you ask your support team. Well, the problem is it's your support team. There's not a lot of good people that out there that qualifies to be on your support team. You have a lot of angry people on your support team, if you're like most people, and they're just going to spew out bad advice. So let me say to you, lady, let me speak to you specifically, ma'am. You have your girlfriends. Guys don't do this so much. That's why I'm relating it to you, lady. Maybe you have your support team and you have your girlfriend and she's fun to be with and she's funny and she just says what she thinks and you get together and you need to have this serious conversation and she's just going to spew out anger because she can't handle her relationships and all men are the same and she's going to say whatever it is and it's just going to be vomiting on you a bunch of stuff that stinks. What do? That's not your support team. By the way, your girlfriend from high school that you did all these things with that's still trying to hang on to you and play high school, do you realize that some people come into your life for a season, but you enter a new season and they don't fit any longer? They got to go too. They must go as well. You have some of those toxic people in your life who want to give you advice and they don't take their own advice, or they want to give you advice and they've never been successful in any of their relationships, or they have no idea what they're talking about, and you want to take advice from them. Well, you deserve what you get if that's your support team. Create a support team that's healthy. I'm begging you. You need a support team. I need a support team. We all need those people in our lives. The Bible says there's safety in many counselors, but these people aren't counselors. So you need a support team, a strong support team, a healthy support team who actually can be objective and you've seen in their own life that they can manage their own life. If they're not managing their own life, why do you need their help to manage your life? They don't know what they're talking about. So, how far can you go with your ex? Not very far. You can go far enough to deal with the children that you have together, but outside of that, those relationships are over. They're in the past. You want to argue with that? Well, do it in the comments because I'm expecting it. But those relationships are over. You're not with them. You move on. That's as far as you can go with your ex. Thanks for joining us. This is Jim Cunningham with Faith Influencer.